Hi, this is Brian Cantoni, and this is a quick demo of installing DataStax Enterprise on DigitalOcean VPS servers. So the steps we'll go through, we'll create the DigitalOcean droplets, we'll install DataStax Enterprise, we'll configure it, and then start it. So on DigitalOcean, the first step is to create an SSH key locally, which I already did, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to paste the public SSH key here. And we'll use this when we create our droplets so we can log in without a password. So now I'm going to create the droplet. I'm going to call them node 0 through node 3. I'm going to choose the 4 GB 2 CPU size, leave the default region, pick the Ubuntu 14.04 64-bit version, pick the Mac demo key, which we created earlier, and click Create. Each one of these takes just about a minute to build. So now I have node 0 through node 3 already. We're going to make note of the IP addresses, which we're going to need in a minute to log in. So I'm using a tool called i2scSSH, which runs on the Mac with iterm2. And in the config file, I've put in the 4 IP addresses for the 4 different hosts and called the cluster dig demo. That lets me use i2scSSH to shell into the whole cluster at once. Now it's going to bring up 4 separate iterm2 windows, one connected to each host. We'll swing this over and expand it so you can see it better. Now we're going to use the iterm2 command to send the input to all windows at once. Now everything I type actually gets typed in parallel to all 4 hosts. Makes the installation process go much faster. Now some images on DigitalOcean have Java installed, but I think this one does not. So to fix that, the first step we have to do is a sudo apt-get update to update all the local packages. And then we can do an apt-get install of OpenJDK version 7. And now Java's present. Next we need to configure the DataStax username and password in the repository. And I'm going to do a VI edit here, not shown, to take my password and fix it. Now we add the DataStax repository key and we'll do another apt-get update. Now we can install DSE full, which is the DataStax packages. As you can tell, I'm jumping ahead here to save time. Now DataStax is installed but not running. We need to fix one thing here on DigitalOcean, the hosts. We need to replace the 127.0.1.1 entry with the actual IP address of each node, so we'll do these one window at a time. By fixing this here, this lets us have a very simple configuration file for Cassandra because it can reliably determine its own IP addresses. So next we'll go ahead and edit the Cassandra config file, and we're just going to need to change a few things. So we'll change the cluster name to DigitalOcean Cluster. Now we're going to find the seeds value, and Cassandra works on the concept of seeds. We're going to set the first node. That'll be the seed for all 4 of them, so we'll set the same IP address everywhere. And then we need to set the listen address, and we can just set this to blank because we already fixed the host file issue earlier. Finally, we'll find num tokens, and we will set it to 256, which enables vnodes. So with that done, now we can do a sudo service DSE start to bring up DataStax Enterprise. And we'll run the command node tool status to take a look at our cluster to see how it's doing. Now what we see here is 3 of the 4 are actually up and running or almost running, and the upper right one, node 2, is not yet. So we'll wait just a minute and then we'll run that node tool status command again, and we should see all 4 of them up and running. And there you have it. There's your 4-node Cassandra cluster on DigitalOcean. So to recap the steps, we created the droplets, installed DSE, configured it, and then started it. Pretty straightforward. If you have any questions or found this interesting, you can check out my website at cantoni.org or follow me on Twitter at bcantoni. Thanks.